All right, Jason, I'm going to take you back in time 3 years to July 5th, 2022. That is the day that NIST announced the round 3 winners. And another thing that also occurred on that day was it announced that it had cleared a potential patent blocker that would have prevented these winners from moving forward. We actually covered this in our episode 269, which is called something to the effect of, did a patent dispute nearly prevent the progress of PQC, or something along those lines, 269. And so I had put this in the history bucket for me. That was interesting, and that's done, and we're moving forward. But I think it's not all the way done.
Yeah, let's talk about exactly what happened back then. We are talking about Crystal's Kyber, ML-KEM.
Yes,
today,
ML-KEM.
right?
Thank you.
And so, there were some. I mean, Kyber itself had at least 2 patents, or two specifically 2 patents from French organizations that held those patents, and therefore, what needed to happen in order for the ML-KEM to be released was NIST, got a license to basically, you can use it.
Yeah.
And that was our story. And we podcasted it and released it, and everybody was happy. But I think that it's interesting is people have looked at it really hard, and that license that allows people to use ML-KEM is extremely narrow in scope. And I'm not a lawyer, a patent lawyer, so anybody who wants to correct me, please do. Apparently, it's narrow enough in scope that any deviation of anything from ML-KEM, which might be necessary in an implementation, you're no longer absolved or free from the patent.
And I think we discussed at that time the idea that this would be a narrow set of rights that were granted very specifically because these institutions might have other things they wanted to do with this patented technology that didn't involve moving the world to ML-KEM.
Right.
And they should be able to continue to do that.
Right.
Which, like in principle at that level, sounds very agreeable. But yeah, your point is that means that upgrades that are required, that are required for the implementation of this algorithm to have it work in the real world may be encumbered once again.
Yeah, and without getting into details, this could easily be an hour-long podcast, and I really want to avoid it. There are also, hardware usages of it, of which, people who are using accelerators and inside of, PKI hardware who want to implement this have looked at this and said, "Ooh, they're spooked by something." Okay, so that's just, we can leave it there. And so all I wanted to do on this podcast was to point out, we had Sophia Selly on recently, and she kind of inspired this podcast because it reignited my interest in what those patents were, because she was talking about how alternative forms of already implemented standards, she implied that possibly there could be replacements down the road.
Yeah.
Which is
sure did.
That was like,
yeah,
she dropped a neutron bomb on me by saying that. Probably not shocking, but I think we should have Dustin Moody on again at some point to really clear a lot of this up and give NIST position, and it's all good. But IETF, they're doing interesting things right now. One of the things that Sophia Selly was a co-author on, and I hope she doesn't mind me saying this, the IETF work on draft Fluor CFRG NTRU, that's what it's called.
Okay.
Right? Basically, NTRU parameter sets, the patent on all of that, I think, is gone as of 2021, and therefore it's royalty free. It's patent free is the idea.
Yeah.
So therefore, I think people are looking for an ML-KEM fallback in case things tighten up. and in terms of what, how patent enforcement, things like this. I'm not saying or implying that there's going to be any kind of litigative situations here. It's just, I think people want free, clear, and easy standards to work with.
Yeah, I mean, when you're getting into this kind of standards level stuff, I agree. It has to be really, really clean.
The criticality, Tim, of stuff you're going to build with these, it's like the core of your stuff.
I mean, you can't really tolerate any chance that someone's going to come along and say, everybody in the world owes me a nickel.
You imagine putting like 1 billion IoT devices out in the world, and they all use this somehow, somewhere. And
someone comes along and says, now you owe me $1 an item, right?
I can tell you that a good lawyer working for that organization would look at this and go, there's gray zone. No.
Right.
That's what any good lawyer would probably do. And that's what's happening right now. And that's what this podcast is about.
Yeah. Okay. So that's interesting and worthwhile and important. We certainly are seeing ML-KEM is being implemented and used in a lot of places today. So that's going to put some momentum behind that particular, stuff gets entrenched, right? That's going to be an entrenching factor. It'll be interesting to see if these kind of worries change that, because that's happening now.
Exactly. I don't want to negate anything NIST did. I think Dustin Moody's work over there and his team have done incredible things. And I think getting that patent clearance was just, fantastic. We reported on it. And we should all celebrate it. On the other hand, Sophia's bringing up some points. And I would my dream would be to have a panel where we have Sophia and Dustin Moody and some others who are involved all in the same room to have the conversation.
Maybe we should try for that.
So that's my aspiration. You guys know where we live. So, we'll try and reach out to you and maybe we'll get something organized. That could be a very special episode of the Root Cause Podcast. But suffice to say, for now, we have people like Sophia on, we have people like Dustin on and others who can weigh in on this individually and all have their say. And I think as of right now, we need to hear from both of them.
Yeah.
At some point in time to say, and I'd love to hear from Dustin. He would know the details. And Sophia's definitely got her point of view. And she's, one of the lead people in authoring the alternatives. Right. And she dropped a heck of a few statements in that podcast. If you haven't heard that Sophia Selly episode recently, please listen to it.
Yeah, the most recent one, we've had her on
she dropped more in 2 or 3 breaths she took than most people do in a whole year. And so check that out. But this podcast is about, Tim, let's call it what it is. And maybe I don't know if this is the title of the podcast, but wow, if we thought cryptographic agility was important before, it's not just the attackers we have to worry about.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. I mean, that's interesting, right? Like a whole different angle on the need for crypto agility. When we talk about the need for crypto agility, we're imagining attacks and we're imagining, new computing architectures and more compute power thrown at it and things along those lines. But sure, the wrong legal encumbrance. Absolutely.
So let's drop some of the reasons right now on everybody's head for why crypto agility. So obviously white hats, white hats versus the math, white hats versus the implementation.
Sure.
That's Dustin Moody talked about that at length. And that's why we need diversity of math, diversity of implementation.
Yep.
Sophia Selly dropped on us. What happens if we come up with such a better that, and her exact words were MLDSA, there are potentially alternatives that might have such a better key size
Right.
That why would you use MLDSA?
Yeah.
And what happens if you've implemented MLDSA and that comes out and you really want to switch? Well, you should be able to,
Sure.
and only Crypto Agility will give that to you.
Yeah.
And then there's this legal thing.
Yeah.
So there's at least 4 reasons for Crypto Agility, and each one of them is a deal breaker, massive deal.
Agreed. Right. And this legal thing is, I think, not just me, but I think most people aren't putting that in the mix. Those other 3, yes, so. Maybe number 3, less so, the Sophia Selly point. I think that's more of a
she's at
more
the center
advanced idea, right?
She's right at the center of trying to improve it.
Right.
And fantastic, right? And so therefore she is going to say something like that.
But I mean, yeah.
The point's a good one.
I do suspect, just from what I read online and what I discuss with people, that this idea of perhaps this stuff does turn out to be legally encumbered isn't really part of the normal dialogue, in part because a lot of people like me believed this was resolved.
And, I think we live in a world of assume nothing. And here we are.
Here we are.
So anyway, Tim, we're here to keep you guys informed about these kinds of things. And sometimes we're also here to reinterpret, especially when we have a really great guest on, they drop 100, points of information on you in 30 seconds. Sometimes we have to tease out what was actually said. Because I think some people miss these things and it's worth repeating. So let's get Dustin back on. Let's get Sophia back on. Let's get a panel going.
I love it.
And we'll go from there.
All right. Thank you, Jason.
Thanks, Tim.